the scandals and failures and broken.
Who's gonna watch it?
You're not good enough.
This is bad.
You're starting.
Who cares?
You're not good
This
enough.
is
You have
bad.
better
Stop.
things
Who
to do.
cares?
Sutryk won. How? I asked myself this question too. He ran against this almost unknown centrist lady, this right-wing guy, this even right-wing guy, this undercover right-wing guy with weird glasses, and this guy, most likely right-wing too. They all ran on more or less the same campaign promises: to fix traffic congestion, to make public transit free or cheap, and to build new roads. So how is it that the incumbent mayor, who promised all that and more, managed to secure only 34.33% of the vote? And the unknown lady? She came in second. Jacek Sutryk managed to piss people off so much that 65% of them voted for not him. Izabela Bodnar, who in October of 2023 became an MP from Polska 2050, was fairly unknown before the mayoral race started. But that didn't stop her from securing 29.8% of the vote. At this point, if I had ran for office in April and promised to fix traffic congestion, build new tram lines, add more housing, I could have won. But I didn't run. So in the end, Wrocław's residents had the choice between Jacek Sutryk, endorsed by Donald Tusk and backed by Wrocław's left, and Izabela Bodnar. Both candidates were so competent and the choice was so difficult that on the day of the second round of the elections, 63% of the voters just didn't vote. But Jacek Sutryk won after all. How did he win? Why did so many people decide to stay at home during the second round of the elections? And most importantly, what's next for Wrocław? Hi, I'm Michał, and this is Municipal. How can someone whose first mayoral term was so littered with scandals and controversies just win? Let's go over his greatest hits. He used an MBA degree he got from a bogus university to buy his way onto board of directors of 3 different companies, of course collecting salaries from every single one of them. His employee ran a used car dealership out of the city hall. He blocked his critics on social media. He failed to deliver on many of his campaign promises. Wrocław's traffic has only gotten worse. Illegal parking is still an issue. Wrocław has one of the slowest public transit systems in Poland, and prices of flats are skyrocketing. But don't worry. According to Jacek Sutryk, the last 5.5 years have been a tremendous success. It's not too often in our increasingly polarized world that a politician can cause people to set aside their political and ideological differences. But Jacek Sutryk has been a unifying force in bringing people together who absolutely despise him. In the last 5.5 years, he managed to piss off everyone: drivers, cyclists, pedestrians, public transit passengers, city activists, people on the left, and people on the right. Well done, Mr. Mayor. Well done. A few months before the elections, it wasn't clear if Jacek Sutryk was even going to run. Officially independent, Jacek Sutryk relied heavily on Donald Tusk's endorsement 5 years ago when he was first running for office. But this time, Donald Tusk was hesitant in giving his endorsement. Due to Jacek Sutryk's many controversies, he initially wanted to endorse a different candidate, Michał Jaros, but he waited a long time to endorse anyone. In the meantime, not wanting to wait for Donald Tusk to make up his mind, Jacek Sutryk cozied up to Wrocław leftist city councillors and became their official mayoral candidate. At the same time, some civic platform politicians, city activists, and Wrocław's residents united around Michał Jaros and waited with great anticipation for Donald Tusk to make up his mind. In the end, not only did Tusk not endorse Jaros, but he reluctantly ended up endorsing Jacek Sutryk, leaving Wrocław's residents speechless. Many people in Wrocław were not fooled by Sutryk's propaganda and saw through the political games and voted against Jacek Sutryk, which is why he managed to secure only 34.33% of the vote in the first round. His two main opponents, Izabela Bodnar and Łukasz Kasztelowicz, managed to get an impressive 29.8% and 19.17% respectively. 65% of the voters didn't vote for the current mayor, but the biggest slap in the face for Jacek Sutryk had to be just how much of the vote Izabela Bodnar got in the first round. A relatively unknown candidate from the center-right party Polska 2050, Izabela Bodnar graduated with a master's degree in economics here in Wrocław and worked as a department director for a big bank and also served as a member of various boards of directors. In 2022, she created an NGO, Wrocław Moc, to help Ukrainian refugees arriving to Wrocław. In 2023, she became a member of Polska 2050 and took part in parliamentary elections, where she got over 26,000 votes and became an MP. In early 2024, she decided to run for mayor of Wrocław as a Polska 2050 candidate. She competed with Jacek Sutryk, who had all the city outlets at his disposal, and she still came in second. In his arrogance, Jacek Sutryk forgot one key element of the elections: Wrocław's residents. You know, the very thing that decides whether he stays or leaves the office. He would also ignore the media and his opponents, who would invite him multiple times to a debate. Other candidates, especially Izabela Bodnar, didn't waste any time. They went door to door, talking with Wrocław's residents, discussing real issues, and working relentlessly against Jacek Sutryk propaganda machine. Politics aside, you have to admire that these candidates actually put in the work, and to a certain degree, that strategy resonated with Wrocław's residents. No candidate exceeded the required 50% of the vote on April 7th, which meant that they would have to hold a second round of the elections 2 weeks later. What happened in those 2 weeks was one of the most bizarre political shows I've seen in a long while. Jacek Sutryk, realizing that his re-election is not guaranteed, doubled down on his propaganda. All of a sudden, he found the time, energy, and interest to engage with Wrocław residents, realizing that he might need to put in some actual work into his re-election campaign. At the same time, Izabela Bodnar continued to work on her campaign by meeting with Wrocław residents, talking with them, signing declarations prepared by various city activist movements, and trying to build herself up. Jacek Sutryk was involved in so many scandals that were swept under the rug before the first round, but they couldn't stay there forever. His team had to strategically craft his media appearance. He intensified his media presence where he could answer some of the questions and clear up some of the controversies, as well as remind us of his achievements. This is how we got this pathetic interview for a nationwide radio station, Radio Z. You don't have to know Polish to understand their body language.
Dlaczego przed pierwszą turą migał się pan, żeby przyjąć nasze zaproszenie?
Dużo było oczywiście zaproszeń, ale nadrabiamy właśnie dzisiaj.
Ale migał się pan. Najpierw nie mógł pan znaleźć wolnego terminu, a potem przestaliście od nas odbierać telefony.
Nie wiem, to muszę porozmawiać ze swoim sztabem. Ja jestem zawsze gotowy na rozmowę, także jeżeli pani to dawała jako miganie się, to przepraszam.
Tak, odbieram to jako miganie się.
Oh my God! She asked him about the numerous scandals and controversies surrounding him, like getting an MBA from a bogus university, being paid as a member of boards of directors while in office, his arrogant responses to comments on social media, and blocking his critics on Facebook. She even mentioned that there is a Facebook group called Blocked by Jacek Sutryk with over 2,000 members. He had the audacity to say that the group is fake and full of bots, and that he can easily set up a group like that. I'm one of the bots, by the way. When asked to list his 3 successes, Jacek Sutryk mentioned his COVID-19 and refugee crisis responses, the 7 billion Polish zlotys spent on 1,700 projects and 2 tram lines, that were finished in 2023. The two tram lines to Popovice and Nowy Dwór were approved and started by the previous mayor. So Sutryk's only achievement was that he didn't stand in the way. Regarding the 7 billion Polish zloty and 1,700 projects, these numbers seem to be difficult to verify at best and made up at worst. Sutryk's official website mentions 5 billion Polish zloty and 1,500 projects. So which is it? As for the pandemic and refugee crisis responses, not to undermine those achievements, but every city had to respond to the pandemic, and many EU countries have had to put systems in place to deal with the refugee crises long before the invasion of Ukraine. It's not like these events are unique to Wrocław. So what makes Wrocław special? If anything, all of these events have highlighted the city's complete lack of management, from public transit to the housing crisis to pollution.
A największa porażka?
Największa porażka, że można było jeszcze lepiej odpowiadać na pewne potrzeby mieszkańców. Znaczy, z pewnych rzeczy jednak nie do końca sobie zdawałem sprawę.
And if he made any mistakes, that's only because he is too eager to change things. His main selling points were that he's done so much, he knows the city, and Wrocław can't afford someone new, unknown, and inexperienced as mayor of Wrocław who would have to learn the ropes. He forgets that 5.5 years ago, he was also new, unknown, and inexperienced, and had to learn the ropes. In order to bolster her chances of winning, Izabela Bodnar's team organized a political rally where they hosted important guests, like, for instance, the former mayor that Sutryk blamed his administration's mistakes on, as well as Szymon Hołownia, the chair of the lower house of the Polish parliament, and Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, the Minister of National Defense. Two big names in the Polska 2050 agrarian coalition that came to Wrocław to give Bodnar a PR boost. I had the chance to be at that rally and it was fine. They played some campaign videos, then some of the guests took stage one by one, except Szymon Hołownia and Kosiniak-Kamysz. These two are inseparable and give speeches together all the time. Always. Like, all the time. Izabela Bodnar's speech was the highlight of the event. She was likable, albeit a bit nervous, which was to be expected from someone who hadn't given too many speeches in front of the audience of that size. Certainly nothing to rule her out of the race. Unfortunately, it was about to turn into a smear campaign. After the results of the first round of the elections were announced, social media posts about Izabela Bodnar's husband running an illegal landfill near Wrocław started gaining traction. Social media was swarmed with fake profiles, bombarding her candidate profile, Facebook groups, and comment sections with questions regarding the trash scandal. The vast majority of those profiles were brand new, with only a few friends, and their only activity was connected with Izabela Bodnar. Whether these allegations are true or not, the timing of these allegations resurfacing is convenient, to say the least. Someone also took clips from Bodnar's rally and turned them into memes. People made fun of her, predicting a great stand-up or sketch comedy career. Those clips were shared out of context to make her look silly and unprofessional. The final nail in the coffin for Bodnar's campaign was Jacek Sutryk's political rally 2 days before the second round. He showed up on stage in front of Wrocław City Hall, accompanied by Rafał Trzaskowski, the Civic Platform politician who was re-elected as mayor of Warsaw 2 weeks prior, and Michał Jaros, whom I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the would-be mayor of Wrocław, who was screwed over by Donald Tusk and Jacek Sutryk.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
The second round of the campaign was a nasty display of cynicism, nepotism, and political calculations. That's why Wrocław's residents by this point were mostly fed up with both candidates and showed the discontent by not voting at all. Unfortunately, Sutryk's voters mobilized yet again and went to the polls. He received 67.8% of the vote. Izabela Bodnar got 32.2%, which is still a better result than in the first round. The total turnout was a paltry 36.7%. Jacek Sutryk was elected by 25% of those eligible to vote, which doesn't seem that impressive, does it? After the election results were announced, Jacek Sutryk delivered a speech talking about how democracy won in Wrocław. You're free. You're free to drive in one of the most congested cities in Europe. You're free to use dangerous bike paths. You're free to breathe air in one of the most polluted cities in Europe. And in exchange, politicians are free to block us for voicing any criticism. This guy is Wrocław's mayor until 2029, whether we like it or not. This video would be quite depressing if it weren't for one thing: the election to Wrocław City Council. The Civic Coalition, the Civic Platform plus leftist and centrist candidates, secured 23 seats. Right-wing Peace, Law and Justice, 8. Sutryk's left, only 6. Civic Coalition has an overwhelming majority in the City Council. It doesn't mean everything will be different from now on, especially since there is still a strong faction of Civic Platform councillors supporting Jacek Sutryk, but it is a clear message. Wrocław's residents want a change. What's even more remarkable is that 6 city activists became city councillors. They have been in office for just a couple of months, but have already been working hard to make Wrocław a better place. They deserve a separate video, which will be coming up soon. If you want to support this channel, like and subscribe. If you want to support your community, consider joining a city movement and get vocal about issues in your town. I'm Michał, it's been Municipal. I'll see you next time.